I got a call from Gary Gillespie that we should do a vigil. And so 2001, we started a vigil outside the American Friends Service Committee.
That's on York Road, right?
On York Road. The building was sold to Loyola in 2012, and we're still doing a vigil there, but then we decided that we wanted to focus on Johns Hopkins University's drone research. So we moved the vigil up to 33rd in North Charleston. So we do that every Tuesday, 5:30 to 6:30. This particular vigil is organized by the Quakers, not the American Friends Service Committee, but the Quaker communities. We have the Homewood Friends and we have Stony Run Friends. It took them a little longer, but September 19th, 2001 is when they put the first peace vigil on Charlotte. We take on different themes here. Sometimes it's children, sometimes it's torture, but it's basically a peace vigil. And I brought with me the War is Not the Answer sign. Those were developed after the invasion of first Afghanistan, later Iraq. Friends Committee on National Legislation, which is the lobbying arm of the Religious Society of Friends. They're the ones that produced these signs. I probably sold about 1,000 of them through the AFSC over the years. And it's always neat to travel around Baltimore and see a sign here and see a sign there. But Larry Egbert is here with us. Dr. Larry Egbert is here with us. Larry is an anesthesiologist, but he also works with one of the groups here in Baltimore that's deals with torture victims. And Larry would be the person that would examine someone to confirm that that particular refugee was tortured, because this has to be verified if it goes to court and somebody's seeking asylum here. If proof can be made that somebody's been tortured, Larry will provide that kind of information. Stan Becker over here, he's been at Johns Hopkins University, sociology professor for as long as I've known him, 30 years or so. Very dedicated to this vigil. I see Brian Barrett coming over on his bicycle. Kim Lathan works at the Pratt Library, just got here. So we're assembling. And finally, we got a decent day. Last I heard it was 64 degrees out.
Blessings on that.
I'm sure it's going to get colder. I'm sure it's going to rain, but I'm pretty happy with 64 degrees.
You think you're making progress on any of these issues, Max?
That's a very, very difficult call.
I mean, the troops are getting out of Iraq, right? I mean,
right.
there's...
But just to think how long they've been there and the amount of money wasted. I just watched Amy Goodman's show today, Democracy Now! It was yesterday, and the great Earl Morris, who does all these wonderful documentaries, including Fog of War,
with McNamara.
With McNamara, now has a new documentary on it. It's remarkable because he interviewed Rumsfeld. Rumsfeld, the attorney, says he'll never do this, but he has 33 hours of taped interviews with Rumsfeld and has condensed it down to, I assume, 90 minutes for this film. And Rumsfeld is unapologetic, to say the least, about what happened in Iraq, what happened in Afghanistan. I'm anxious to see the movie, but there's no contrition, as I understand it, on his part at all. Just clueless. Nothing we did wrong. We tried to do our best. And that situation in Iraq is beyond my comprehension right now. What's going on over suicide bombings, killings, fratricidal warfare. Afghanistan is another disaster area. It's so sad.
Alexander the Great got kicked out of there. The Brits got kicked out, and we say we're going to go in there.
And the Russians
got kicked out, and we're going to go in there.
Right.
Learn nothing from history.
Right. I mean, I've seen a couple movies about Afghanistan and the plight of the women there. It just tears at my soul, and I really wish there was something that could be done. I mean, there's some very brave people. One of whom I saw, Amy Goodman, last week, who actually set up a school there for girls. I mean, that's a heroic feat to educate girls in the place. But the idea of bringing in troops, trying to bend them to our way of thinking, I've never seen it work. And Obama was just overseas, and he gives a speech and talking about how they did it right in Iraq because they went to the United Nations. Well, he left out that the United Nations did not approve this bogus invasion of Iraq.
Destroyed a nation of 28 million people.
It's just unbelievable. So are we making progress? I don't know. $214 billion is going to be allocated to renewing the nuclear weapons complex. The United States is a signatory to the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty. The basic tenet of NPT is that you will reduce your nuclear weapons arsenal, eventually eliminating it. The United States is not doing a very good job of that. When I was in Knoxville, Tennessee for the sentencing of the Transform Now plowshares, each of them, Sister Megan Rice is the nun, Michael Wally is the Catholic worker from Dorothy Day, and Greg Borchio-Bett is a Catholic worker in Duluth, Minnesota. Two of them, Michael and Greg, chastised the court because our government is violating this treaty, that you're putting peace people in jail. In this particular case, the two men got 62 months in a federal penitentiary. The nun, who served 40 years working with the poor in Africa, she got a 25-month sentence. And people like Rumsfeld are getting accolades, and movies are being made about it.
And writing those darn lying memoirs.
Oh, geez. Oh, it's awful. So my philosophy always is you keep speaking out. You hope to be effective. You have no idea if you will be effective. One thing we note when memoirs come out 30 years later, sometimes we find out surprise. And I just finished reading The Burglary. That's about the break-in at the Media FBI office in Media, Pennsylvania, March 8th, 1971.
With Hoover, Edgar Hoover.
Yeah, J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI. Furious, spent $500,000, probably more, in an investigation of who broke in. Never figured out who it was. Had all kinds of possible suspects. Never could find out. Now, Betty Metzger, who received one of the first packets of information that was in the FBI office that eventually exposed his COINTELPRO program. She was one of the few journalists that actually wrote about it, actually kept the documents. I'm sad to say my former Congressperson, Perrin Mitchell, got a packet. George McGovern got a packet. Both of them returned the packets to the FBI. But to at least to Perrin Mitchell's credit, as it states in the book, he did condemn the FBI for what they were doing. And that book gave me and so many others so much hope. And you find out very, very early in the book, people who were involved in the break-in, who were they influenced by but the Catholic left? Philip Berrigan, Dan Berrigan were mentors to these people, that they said, if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do this. And today, if that break-in never took place, theoretically, we never would have heard of COINTELPRO. J. Edgar Hoover would have been a great hero. Saved us from communism and fascism, whatever isms he saved us from. And this guy was homophobic, this guy was racist, this guy was anti-constitution. So we marched in Media, March 8th this year, and we had whistles. We were blowing whistles. And the reason we were blowing whistles is because we were remembering the current whistleblowers. We have John Kiriakou, former CIA agent, blew the whistle on torture. He's in a federal penitentiary. We have Julian Assange, who's stuck in the embassy in Ecuador in London. We have Chelsea Manning, that's in Fort Leavenworth. And I know, and that's you probably know.
And Snowden.
And obviously Edward Snowden, who's in limbo in Russia. And this idea that if you'd only go through the proper channels is so ridiculous. We have Tom Drake. I was at his sentencing down in the federal courthouse in Baltimore. You were there that day. Here's somebody that tried to go to all the channels, Inspector General, the intelligence committees, so on and so forth. Nothing works. We leaked some information about this. Something like 6 NSA people that were all lost their jobs The only one they went after was Tom Drake. The idea is it's a sad story, but I and others will continue to speak out and hope for the best.
Okay, thanks so much for the wrap-up, really, Max, of what's been happening in the history.
No problem. Thanks for being there, Bill.
Okay.